Greetings everybody. So as you probably know, in the month of February 2013, the vote to establish gay marriages had just been put forward. What this obviously means is that homosexuals are now allowed to marry, whether they're gay or whether they're lesbian. Now the vote majority came up with a difference of 225, that being the people voted against was 175 and the people who voted for it was 400. Thus, it approved the marriage for gay rights. Now, there was additional information given regarding how they are to get married. That being that they're not allowed to have any religious content whatsoever. No priest, no church, no pastor, and so on. They were only allowed to marry at a registry office, seeing that no religious content was allowed. Now, although I am a Christian and I'm naturally against this, and although it's based on two different premises, being that people think it's natural, while Christians think it's abnormal. Being that as it may, there are some thoughts that come to my mind, not based upon homosexuality per se, but based upon the law being passed. Now, before I mention what these things are, I want to make sure that I'm very clear on how Christians view homosexuality. Not just a Christian's view, but a person itself. I know a lot of homosexual people probably get a lot of abuse from unreligious people, but mainly from religious people. I've seen literally a lot of hate demonstrated against people who are homosexuals, and it really is appalling. So before I mention the points that I want to bring out, I know for a fact that homosexuality is a sin, as well as lying, stealing, adultery, murder, gossip, and even, yes, hating. So based upon how professed Christians behave towards homosexual people, I just want to publicly apologize on behalf of Christianity, how people have been abusing homosexual people, like degrading them and all these kind of things, because this is not how Jesus acted towards sinners. For example, in the book of John chapter 8, there were a few Jewish leaders who tried to trap Jesus by bringing a woman who was caught in adultery. They said that according to the law, she should be put to death. But what Jesus did is that he caught them by surprise. He wrote on the ground and said, "He who is without sin, let him throw the first stone." The leaders obviously threw their stones down and left the woman and Jesus alone. Now, Jesus asked the woman this question. He said, "Where are the people that accused you?" The woman said, "Well, they're gone." Then Jesus said to the woman, "I don't condemn you either." But he also said, "Go and sin no more." Now, why was Jesus able to say this? I mean, naturally the woman might have just, enjoyed doing it. Or naturally she might have thought, this is what I do best. Romans chapter 5 verse 6 says, "For when we were still helpless, Christ died for the wicked at the time that God chose." The reason why Jesus Christ said to the woman, "Go and sin no more," is because he was the one who gave her victory to go and sin no more. And that doesn't only based upon that woman, but it based on homosexuality as well. So the point is that even though the woman was an adulterer, and even though Jesus didn't excuse the sin, he showed mercy and compassion to her because he knew that she was helpless and that she couldn't overcome what she was. Therefore, he provided a way for her to overcome. You see, the thing is that me personally, I've spoken to many people who were actually homosexuals, and from what I gathered from them, they understood within themselves that it's not natural for a man to be with a man or a woman to be with a woman. When a man and a woman come together, life is formed. But when a man or a woman and a woman come together, disease is formed. But the reason why I put this verse down on Romans chapter 5 verse 6 is because many of the people who are homosexual, they said that they didn't like the way they were. Not because of society, but mainly because they know it's not natural. It was actually put forward in the 1960s that they would class you as somebody who had a mental disorder, because obviously it isn't natural. But I presented the same verse to those people, Romans chapter 5 verse 6, which says that when we were yet without strength, that's when Christ came to save us from our sin. Not just the penalty of sin, but the practice of sin as well. And once this was demonstrated to the homosexual people that I spoke to, they literally were grateful. They understood everything, and they understood that it was not based upon who they were, but what they can become in Jesus Christ. So just to make sure that this is understood, I'm truly sorry on how homosexual people are being treated, but though I'm not against the people, I am against the practice. Now, a very important point that I wanted to bring up when it came to this law passing is that it's another sign showing that we are actually living in the last days. But you may be saying, well, what does this law passing have anything to do with living in the last days? Now, when Jesus spoke about the last days, he would usually use Old Testament experiences, and he would apply it to how we're going to live in the last days. One of those experiences was in the book of Luke chapter 17, when it came to the man named Lot. Now, Lot lived in a place called Sodom and Gomorrah, and based upon what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah, you can see it manifesting today. And that one of the main things there was the practice of man and man, woman and woman, homosexuality. So based upon this, as we see this law coming to pass, this should literally be like alert signs to know that we are living in the last days, because Jesus said before he comes, this kind of stuff is going to happen. Now, we've seen in the past studies that have shown that we are living very, very close to the end, and the studies that we've gone through are showing historical facts, religious facts, and all these facts that come and are compiled together, which shows that things are really, really close. But this law passing is just another indication on how sin is getting colder and colder and colder in society. And yet this is one of the manifestations of what Jesus said in the book of Matthew 24, which shows a lot of the signs when it comes to the end time. But what is really interesting is that if a Christian country can pass a law which goes against the person they sing about in their national anthem, God Save the Queen, and if the same God that they sing about is the one who created male and female in his image, it literally shows that we are literally living to the nearness of the end, especially based upon all these signs that we've just been looking at in this video. So to be frank again, I'm not speaking against homosexual people. I'm speaking about this law being passed to promote homosexuality. And from what I've understood, it's not only based upon marriages, but it's also being taught in the schools as well. So based upon what the Bible teaches, as well as other things, time is not going to last too long. But to those people who are homosexual, I just want to say that sin is sin, and God can give us victory over every single sin, especially to the people that I spoke to and who are even on the verge of overcoming as we speak. And the problem with Christianity today, which has kind of given a false view on who Jesus is that we seem to kind of grade sins. So we think that homosexual is at a top sin, stealing is at a little bottom sin, etc. But no matter how big or small the sin is, God can give us victory over every single sin, including the religious people who may be verbally abusing you or even physically abusing you.
Encrusted feces, encrusted ass! God still hates you! And you know it!
Because God hates sin, but he loves the sinner, which is why he died to save us from all our sins. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and I pray that this has blessed you. Bye for now.